no type of, I could say, they get no type of, discipline, I guess.
Okay.
And, I think it's very unfair, you know, in that point of view. Because, I mean, as citizens, we're here, we pay our taxes, you know, in order for the people in the city to represent us and to help us, not to hurt us or to feel any type of recoil against the citizens of the city. After all, we're all here because we live in the city, we wanna make it better. But, like I told the person, the code enforcer, I said, are you applying the law evenly, you know, to everybody? He said, yeah, evenly. I said, nobody's above and nobody's beyond. Everybody. She said, yes. I said, okay. And then that's when I sent my emails, and you can clearly see in the emails the violations that are there. And I addressed them accordingly to the information that I received in the mail. Now, I came to court. I was able to face the judge and everything, and I received a couple of citations. I paid them. I've done everything I've done. But yet, on the other side, there's nothing coming towards them. So I think it's unfair.
Well, first and foremost, I apologize. I didn't see the emails, but I will look at them after the time.
It's dated 10/21/22.
We'll find
And,
them.
yeah, so I has them. You know, I would like for you all to review them. And I think I have a fair case, because in one of the things that I was, addressed is that I had a vehicle, I had a pickup in which I was working on. Well, it got to my attention that you can't have a vehicle that's not licensed. I said, okay, I'm working on it. And then I told her, I said, okay, what do I do? She said, you have to remove it. I said, okay. But I already knew that that person had a car in their property that the tag for expires in July of 2022.
Sir, I'm gonna interrupt you.
Yes, sir.
3 minutes are up.
Okay.
But we get it, we're gonna address it. Vince, would y'all check into that? None of our, I mean, look, none of us are any different than you. We should be treated the same way you're treated, period, first and foremost. So we will look into it and we will come back to you with answers.
Okay, I appreciate it. I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate you bringing it to our attention. Item 6, consent agenda. 6A, consider the minutes of the February 28, 2023 regular city council meeting. 6B, consider payment of bills over $5,000 from February 24, 2023 through March the 10th, 2023.
No questions, motions approved, items consent 6B.
Motion made by Councilman King, second by Councilman Medina. All those in Councilwoman, excuse me. Medina, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 7, public hearing and zoning matters. 7A, case file 04-23PC. Consider the request of Mario Valdez, applicant for a zone change from residential 1 to residential 2B. He would like to build a fourplex on property. The property is located at 129 South High Street, NCB 54, 10900 Old Town Subdivision, Lot 2, Lot 59B, 67A, 75A, City of Uvalde, Uvalde County, Texas. Staff comments?
Sure. This property is kind of across from the Live Oak place, and there is an existing home there, and so the idea is to reuse that home and then add a second structure in the back. We believe there is enough space for that, including the parking, because that would be 8 parking spaces for this rather large lot. It's zoned B2 to the north of this property and B3 to the east of the property. Directly south of it, it is zoned R1. There were 14 letters mailed out. 9 of them were received. 2 were unclaimed and 3 we still haven't heard from. We've not heard anybody that was against this proposition, and it did pass unanimously.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Valdez is here.
Sure. We'll open a public hearing at 6:08. Anyone wants to speak against it or? No?
Good afternoon, Judge. Ma'am. about this. I recently purchased the property in question, which is 129 South High Street. And I'm just trying to refurbish the house, turn it into a duplex, like Mrs. Anderson said, and then make it into a fourplex. We went with Susan and Ms. Juanita, the code enforcer, about the regulations and the boundaries that need to be met. And we believe we have crossed all our, T's and dotted our I's, and we should be in compliance with anything that the city, has to. That's about it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. That passed 5-0 if you're county zoning. So we'll close public hearing at 6:09 and reconvene meeting for discussion and decision on application.
Move to carry 7A.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Balky, seconded by Councilman Zamora. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 8, new business, consider request from the 38th Judicial District Attorney to encroach on the public alley right of way behind our offices at 524 East Hilltop Street.
I guess I can talk about this. It is as they've stated in their request, they're looking for a part of the alley that runs east-west behind the new office county fire. There's an alley right of way. You wouldn't necessarily know it's an alley by looking at it. It's not approved, although part of the pavement, parking lot behind that building is already sort of in out. But they want to fence it off. Parking area. I would say that before, there are some alleys that are closed in the vicinity, but they're mostly around the parking complex, and probably more likely than not, it's been years ago that we did the parking complex. There's also some vacant property there too. I think it would be premature to decide whether the alley's going to be used for anything before the property is over. So I would argue that it'd be premature to close the alley on that basis. And then second, we looked at their request, and although it would not be their preference, we still think they would do what they want to do, create a secret parking area behind the facility. If they angle the parking instead of putting it straight in and out. I don't know that there's any reason to give up public property for preference. It's something unusual or an unusual.
Who owns that lot? There's a water out there, no?
Who owns the lots behind?
We have a well there.
Hildebrand owns the lots
Yes.
that face Oak Street. We have a well that's
Yes.
in the alley right away on the north-south alley. In East Uvalde, most of the north-south alleys have been closed, but most of the east-west alleys are open. So this is the east-west
But
alley.
we have to get to that well, we have to leave the truck and then you're gonna be there, and what's it gonna do with property?
There again, just because someone asks, I don't think we're under any obligation to give them a right. We may not be able to see it now, but I think we probably have regretted in the past closing a few of those. But I think this is.
I will tell you, if Mr. Hildebrand was aware that this request was made, which is going to affect his property, I can tell you right now, he'd be against it.
Yeah, if we closed it, we would have to go through the formal process to do that, and then he would have opportunity to get 10 feet from it. I guess I should point out too, there've been some inquiries about developing that property. So there is something potentially pending, but even if not, it's still not justified at this point.
Mayor, I had the opportunity to go out there this afternoon, take a look at it. And Ms. Bonita and the staff was there with me. I don't know that you can really tell the boundaries of that alley lies. I know there's a tree in the middle of it, and it's not a thoroughfare. If you go in that alley, you're going to have to back out of there. I don't know if we need to survey it or find out exactly where the boundaries are and see how much property is there.
My understanding, when we measured it before, we located some property pins. Is that not the case?
I believe they had some survey pins put up. We haven't surveyed it. I haven't seen an official document from a surveyor, but I'm assuming those posts that they put that
But
for us.
you're right, it is hard to see it, but we measured it, at least based on what we thought the property line was, it came up with over 45 feet between the building
From,
and.
from the building to the back property line
Back
appears to
property.
be 45 feet.
Which is, that's more than the width of most of the streets, in most of our residential.
So how wide is the alley?
The alley is 20 feet wide. And we're talking about the right of way. You know, fairly.
Right. And the entrance to that particular area, we call it an alley, is offset. You've seen it. You don't have to come into the property, Mr. Hildebrand, to even to get there, because there's a curve there. And if you drive by there, like Mr. Piazza mentioned, you don't know that's an alley.
Well, it's not developed, I mean, if we developed it, there would be an alley, and then he would have his lots for building, whatever, you know. It's just right now, it's a future use in case that's lots developed.
We do have those around town. Alleys that are under those. Never were or are waiting.
Cover your bases to make sure you have an alley. Motion to deny 8A, and so then we said.
Survey.
Motion to deny 8A. Second. Period.
Motion made by Councilman King, seconded by Councilman Balky. All those in favor? Motion carries. Item 8B, consider resolution giving properties that will receive a historic tax incentive for 2023.
You have the list of properties in the resolution. This is a procedure that we have to follow with the state regarding tax exemptions. And then I had printed out just a sheet that kind of shows you the total amount that we are discounting, so it's a little over $70,000. And it's 20-something properties. We have 3 new ones this year. The incentive is given for people to maintain their properties. So we send our building inspectors out every year to look at the properties before we recommend them to be on this list. And then after it's approved, we'll send out letters to the property owners, and we send pictures of things that need to be addressed. And I will say that last year we had one, and they fixed the problem before it came up again this year. So the problem was addressed. If we find that it's been a couple of years and they're not addressing the problem, then we'll remove them from the list. And this was approved by County Commissioners Court yesterday. And the process is, we inspect, we present the list, y'all approve it, and then we put all of the applications along with the resolutions together and take it to the council.
Is this solely in the historic district or the Main Street district?
It is, we started this years ago based on what they do in Bracketville. And so, they do National Register properties, and they have quite a few since the court. And they also do recording Texas historic landmarks. We also opted to do local landmarks, so there's a couple on there that are local landmarks as well. But most of these are National Register contributing properties, and that's the National Register district, which is a little bit smaller than Main Street.
Main Street.
Yeah. And then
We don't have a separate historic district, it's all, Main Street is the
Well,
historic district. We have a register.
we've actually got, we've got about 3 overlapping. So Main Street is a district for that program with the state. We adopted the B3 downtown district as our historic district. So if you want to make exterior changes to your building and you're within that B3 zoning, that's supposed to come through the historic board. And then the National Register district is smaller than that. Those individual properties had to be approved by the state architects.
Are those annual renewals, Ms. Anderson?
Yes, the way we have it set up is they have to apply every year, and that's so that we can ensure that they are maintaining the building. The state statute says that you may do this type of incentive in order to encourage maintenance of historic properties. So, you know, I don't want us to just give it to somebody and then they're letting a building fall down.
Sure. Thank you.
Second. Motion made by Councilman King, seconded by me. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 8C, consider grant resolution for bullet resistant shield grant program.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City staff. Bringing to you again another grant opportunity. It is the bullet resistant shield program. We will be putting in for 8 additional shields, bulletproof shields, rifle rated shields. And we have obtained some already. We're just adding more to our arsenal so we can be prepared. So in order to proceed with this, we do need this resolution.
So we're doing match.
No matching requirements, 100%.
So there's a difference between bullet resistant and rifle rated. Are these rifle rated?
These are rifle rated.
Can our resolutions
I'm
say
sorry.
that? Can our resolution say bullet resistant, rifle rated, or is that
So-
out of bounds?
I don't know.
In the list of shields that you can purchase, and they provide you a list, there are level 3, which are rifle rated, bullet resistant.
I'm thinking about 10 years, 5 years, how long do these good for?
They're about 5 year.
4 or 5 years down the road, somebody sees this, they're like, well, what are these? Are these pistol rated or rifle rated? It doesn't matter, I mean, it matters to you.
Each shield has exactly what the rating is on it,
Yeah.
so you'll be able to tell.
We wouldn't, from the records. we
Right,
have,
right.
From our voting.
You need to put it in a motion, or, I'm sure this is a boilerplate resolution that we've used before. We can modify it. I don't see the material. City attorney's opinion on that, but
Wouldn't hurt just to sort of know.
Yeah, I know. You can certainly add that language if you want.
I move to approve, 8C.
Second. What's your question?
No, I thought you said you were gonna add that it was.
You'll add that.
Well, we're subject to the grant being
The
approved.
resolution.
I'll make an addendum to it with the addition that the shields meet the rifle rating.
Yes, sir.
With the addition.
And motion made by Councilman King and Councilman Balky.
Okay.
Huh? Oh, okay, motion made by Councilman Balky, seconded by Councilman King. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 8D, consider approval of the updated memorandum of understanding with the UCISD Police Department. I want to just say before we go there, we originally passed this on 9/27 of 2022. All they're doing is updating it and changing the names that were in it. And I think there's one paragraph you're changing.
There's one paragraph that was actually added, which is 13. In the event that we, the Uvalde Police Department, have an arrest warrant to execute, and the student happens to be at a school, which it could be junior high or high school, we will notify the chief of police for the school district, let them know. The last thing we want to do is make any, we don't want to cause a big scene, so we want to make sure that they understand what we're doing and let them know that we're going to be there. That's the only change. Other than that, it's just the names that have been changed in the last one.
Chief Rodriguez.
Yes.
I know presently the DPS is playing an active role in the school district. How is this gonna affect their role should something come up? I mean, are they gonna, we're the DPS, or we're gonna follow the school district protocol?
Us or DPS?
Well, what is the DPS for, let me put it that way?
DPS role is assisting the school district police department, and that's, what I'm gathering is that they're following school protocol. So if we go out there, like I said, the only change to this MOU is we will notify the school district that we're there to conduct business.
So, just hypothetically speaking, if an incident happens where, the DPS can get involved, or they can say, hey, we're taking over this, those.
Well, if we respond to the school, and it states this in this MOU, we are assisting the school district,
Sure.
and we will be following their protocols. But if we take over a scene, if say, for example, I show up and I feel, you know what, I'm gonna take over this scene, then we follow Uvalde Police Department follows our policies. And I don't know if maybe I answered your question there, but.
Yeah, I'm just speaking specifically, why does the DPS rule, because they're there.
Yeah.
You know, I think the police department for the school district only has 3 officers at this time, according to the newspaper. And so, obviously, they're undermanned. And so, the DPS, to me, is playing a very active role in safety of the campuses, so, I mean, they have their protocols, I'm sure. So, I don't want there to be a conflict, like, you know, hey, we're the state, we're here.
Right, and the difference between the last one, and I just thought about that, the last MOU did mention DPS. This one only mentions Uvalde CISD and Uvalde Police Department. That's the only agencies that are mentioned, because, you know, the school district is currently hiring more officers, and eventually they're going to be to where they need to be. And troopers eventually are going to go back home, and they're no longer gonna be here. So it's just gonna be us and the school district. So that's one of the other reasons that the Chief Gutierrez and I, we discussed it, and we did not include DPS in this MOU, because we're assisting the school district just like the troopers are. So.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve 8D.
Second.
Motion made by me, second by Councilman Zamora. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 8E, consider approval of ordinance amending chapter 10.24 of the Code of Ordinances regarding through streets and stop intersections.
Mayor, Council, there's been a new building that's been built at the intersection of Doty and Wood Street. Now, prior to that building being built, there is no stop signs at that intersection, and it kind of just curves. If you're going north, or correction, south on Wood, and it just kind of curves west onto Doty Street. And there wasn't really a big issue before, because you could see if there was any oncoming traffic coming eastbound, but with that building there now, there is a potential danger and a traffic hazard, if you will. So we feel that placing some stop signs at that intersection would slow traffic down and prevent any accidents occurring at that intersection. So we're recommending that stop signs be placed at that intersection, going eastbound on Doty, and then southbound on Wood Street.
I think we have to do an ordinance for this, but motion to approve.
I second it.
Motion,
I was gonna second.
okay, motion made by Councilman King, seconded by Councilman Zamora and Councilwoman Medina. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I almost got hit in that intersection too. That's
8E, approval of ordinance amending chapter 10.24 of the Code of Ordinances regarding, we just said that, excuse me. 8F, consider approval of ordinance amending chapter 12.24 of the Code of Ordinances regarding parks.
I finally slipped up. I used the same ordinance and I cut and paste out of it, and I sent you the one before I did the renewal. So the ordinance that's on your desktop tonight, the shorter one, that's actually the ordinance. Y'all had already approved that other one, and I just used that framework. So basically what we're doing is we're allowing the downtown plaza to be reserved for public events. Because we've never really had rules for the downtown plaza. We see it more of a place for free speech and that sort of thing, but in the past year we had several people wanting to do events there, and they're conflicting on the same day and that sort of thing. So this way, this puts up that framework. Public events have a charge of $350. As with community parks, if it's a nonprofit and they want to come and ask you to waive that, they can do that, but the base fee is the $350, like we have for Memorial Park or LRD. If there's a large event that takes up the entire park, and any event that happens at the plaza takes up the There are a few events that happen there that are sort of city sanctioned events. You know, on Thursdays, we have the farmer's market. We have Foursquare, and Cardona Plaza was something that was started by Main Street, and we've allowed it to continue. It's a way to bring some people downtown. And then I think, other than that, our Christmas event, and then the Glen County Festival again this year. So there's a few city events that go on there, but otherwise, if somebody is coming in and wanting to use that space, they'll need to reserve it just like they would the other parks.
Motion to approve 8F.
Second.
Motion made by me, seconded by Councilman Zamora Balki. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 8G, consider approval pay request number 4 in the amount of $20,592 to Lim Construction Company for work performed through February 28, 2023 on the wastewater treatment plant repairs and upgrades project.
This is another progress payment on that project. It's a fairly small one compared to what you all are doing on it. Project is proceeding pretty much, like we expected it to. Still a little worried about when electrical stuff are going to be received. Still down the road. Based on the total amount of what we paid so far, if you approve this, we're about 25% into the expense, which is nearly $3 million. We pay less than and this is paid.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Balki, seconded by Councilman King. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Did we get the backup fuel fixed out there or repaired, or do we have to replace it?
I'm trying to remember. We were in the process of getting it repaired. I don't know if you repaired it. We did move out. We had a power glitch out there. Had to move one of those portable generators that we've acquired since the Great Winter Storm. And moved it out there, and we're hooking it up and getting ready to fire it up. I think that's about when the AEP would sort of put us on the fireworks. I don't think we actually had it running the generator power. Yes, the generator that wasn't working, talking about repairing it. We're also discussing the potential of replacing it. It's 20 years old plus. Probably maybe fold it in the project. But the other one was salvage. Yes.
8H is just considered declaring a local state disaster due to the immigration crisis, which I think we should keep doing it because at some point if we can get reimbursed for Danny's time and all the officers' time and that, at least we'll have the declaration. It ain't stopping.
Is it getting worse?
It's getting a lot worse.
Motion to revise it.
Second. Motion made by Councilman King, seconded by Councilman Zamora. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 8I, consider amending tourism promotion agreement with Uvalde Area Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, this comes from the extended discussion we had last time about whose responsibility was it to met event funding requests and approve them. Perhaps I misinterpreted the council's intent. Contract with the chamber last summer. All came together really quickly and a lot of other stuff. I assumed when you all said you wanted control over the money, that meant that you wanted final approval of those payments or decisions to fund events. If that's not the case, then we've got sort of a two-pronged proposal in front of you to amend the contract with the chamber. One would be that they receive the applications, they vet the applications, and make a recommendation to council whether or not to fund them. The other one would be basically delegating the authority to do the whole thing. Take the applications, vet the applications, approve the funding. They would have to come to us since we're working on a reimbursement basis now. Which is different from the way we used to work with the CDP, and it was an independent organization before that we contracted with. still have to come to us to cut the check, but, you know, depending on how you all wanna do this, I believe we got final authority, or you'll have.
And when we made the pitch, the general idea was to put the control back in your hands. And so outside of the budgeted amount of events that we already knew that were on an annual renewing basis, those were proposed in the budget. For events like the Eclipse, or events like having the World and National Gliders, these are ones that are not annual events necessarily, and are a much larger size and scale. And so I felt quite comfortable making that decision independently, and we didn't really clarify that in the contract. So that was, the idea of this is just cleaning it up. So I would suggest, where I was in issues as I was years ago, that, you know, having us vetted is great, and having us give an opinion is great, but at the end of the day, I think it's better for larger purchases, and we were kind of shooting around ideas of basically 10,000 or larger. Because if you remember in our budget, we had basically 15,000 that was not allocated specifically in the budget to a specific event, that were for things that just came up over the course of the fiscal year. And so I think 10,000, unless council has a different idea, for those 10,000 above should be those that we vet through the forms, which will have a post and pre component to it, so that you're telling the city and the hot tax contractor what your event is, what you want to do with the money, and then with a minimum of 60 days post-event, doing a follow-up that shows, all right, you said you're gonna spend the money on these things, what did you actually spend them on? Because if nothing else, it's a good tool for you to know the next year, do we need to spend more on this part of that and less on this portion over here? And so when we're talking about $100,000 asks, I don't think that's something that our board should be making independent of the council. So we just need, staff and I just need clarification on what process we want to use. Do we want to be the arbiter of all things, or do we want to just be the person who vets, gives our 2 cents on our thoughts on that petition, still allowing the other party to make their case to council if there's a disagreement over the value of that event?
I like the idea of you vetting them, because you may have some information from previous years that this group has asked for money before, and, you know, it's been granted and presented to us, and we approve it probably 99% of the time.
And the form that we were basically just came up with in the last few weeks was, we didn't have anything that wasn't budgeted before us at that point. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. So there are several formats out there. All of them have statutory requirements to notify the user of what is and isn't allowable and a part of them. And then any of the other details can be tweaked. So the dollar amount exceeding that needs to come to council, those kind of things, in the current iteration that I've given to Victoria Hearing and Mark Huffstetler and his group, basically uses that 10,000. Well, in this case, both of their asks are going to be greater than 10,000. Now, we 100% support the amount they're requesting, because if you adjust for inflation, they're very reasonable. I think that in 2012 was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 70,000, I think, for the World event. So I think that the 100 that they're asking is more than reasonable, given the size and scale of the event. But we do need direction though on the contract on how y'all want us to adjust it.
So John's idea of a threshold, that as well. Of course, you said you have $15,000 in the budget that would be available for event funding? Is that what you
No, we had 15,000 so we had 25 to Cactus Jack, we had 25 Halloween
Oh, okay.
Fest.
That was already
Those were
in your
budgeted
budget.
and presented to
Okay.
you in exactly the amounts we anticipated giving them. I had no idea what the ask was gonna be, so we did want to budget that in our request.
Right.
Now, I will say, probably for auditing purposes for the city, I'd love for y'all just to give large sums like this directly to the end user, but it was clear to me after talking to the finance director, it's cleaner for you for it to come to us to then go to that party, because it takes the liability off the city. Is that not correct? That it's just cleaner?
I'm sorry, that surprises me.
Well, so my understanding was from the last meeting that the Chamber of Commerce was gonna be the one, the recipient of the money, and then from there was gonna go to that.
I don't care either, I don't care either way.
The Chamber would do, like what Steve said, a certain amount, they come and they vet them, do everything, bring it to the council for approval. Then it goes back to them to disperse the money, that way you're accountable, they're accountable to you for the receipts, like, we'll have to give you a report.
Okay, well, you can do it that way.
We don't wanna do that.
Yeah, unless it's big dollars, it won't be bad. Let them do the vetting, we still gotta approve it.
Okay, well, I'm starting to get more confused now. Okay, so they're doing the vetting unless it's big dollars? What is the big dollars?
No, they're gonna vet every deal that
Okay,
comes
okay.
through. Every deal they're gonna vet.
Yeah, every request will come through us, anything greater than 10,000, bring it to y'all to be
We
the
just need to
final
know what to
decision
put in
maker.
the contract.
I think,
Greater than 10,000 or less for now?
Yeah.
Well, both of them,
event is gonna get
I mean,
$5,000.
I'm gonna abstain on both of these,
Coming
because Kathy's checking the fees, so I'm gonna abstain. But, you know, we're gonna do, I mean, this year we're out buying TV ads and going to another deal to bring even more here with that. And we'll give you an itemized accounting of every dollar we spend.
And you have to.
Yeah, we do by the rules, we have every year, but
So,
Pick a number.
Pick a number.
I would
What are we
say,
doing?
I would say, do like you said, I would leave it, if it's 10,000 or less and they vet it, they do it. If it's 10,000 or more, bring it to council.
Okay, yes.
because obviously any number greater than that would exceed what
And then,
we
you
have
know,
reserved.
And then we still pay the bill through
Through
the
them.
chamber?
And that way
That
they're.
seems an extra step.
Whatever y'all wanna do, I can
You
figure
can
it out.
I would
still,
think
you
it's a
can
pass-through
still-
at best.
You're on the front end, you can still request to follow the paperwork.
That's right, I don't have to take possession of it.
That way, then we're not paying you and paying them. I don't know, maybe.
Felix, how do you want it set up?
Yeah, how do you want it?
So my thing is, we already have a relationship with him, and he's basically administering the hotel motel tax monies, in a sense. So for me, I recommend us deal with John, let him deal with whoever else is gonna apply for the usage of these
Are you
monies.
okay?
Yeah, no good deed goes unpunished.
Are you okay with that?
But I'm okay with
It's
whatever
just a
the
pass-through.
council decides.
Okay, but
I think
ultimately,
it's just a
you want to write a
it's
check or you want
approved
to
here,
write a check?
he administers it.
Well, I think
turns
what
it
we
into
said,
a-
we authorize me to then,
We said about
right,
next
to,
month,
and I
okay.
seek reimbursement.
Yeah,
It's a little complicated.
unless he does like he did last year, he
That's why
budgets
we
it,
need to clarify.
he submits his annual budget, he has Palomino Fest,
So-
and Briscoe Brothers, and the other.
That's what we do every year. That's a yearly thing. And those are.
Well, they tend to be annually saying, although the requests from time to time change. So everything passes through, or just the small ones pass through?
I would think 10,000, I would give him the leeway to do those. That's okay.
They've got the authority to write the check directly at 10,000, right?
Yeah.
And then above 10,000.
Above 10,000, he comes
Big
to
stuff,
present to
we'll
the
handle.
council if they want it, and they want to speak it, if they can, and then it's done.
Because that would be the same as I make the budget request that has the one I know of, and then I'm only seeking reimbursement when they come. In this case, I ask you for the 35,000 that they want for August of 23. Ask you for it, it exceeds the 10,000, you would make the decision. If you say yes, you would allow the reimbursement to me to make that check. Now, for the 100, I don't have that amount of funds in there. That would either have to go to them direct, or I would have to receive them before I could issue them a check. Which everything else I expense.
My
in
goal would be
reimbursement.
that he brings up proof that we give him the money, he runs the check. That way, they're only, because if he comes and reads us, we approve it, we write the check, then y'all gotta get involved with getting a report from that.
Okay, so
Well,
Felix,
they're already
so
set up. We still get the
are you
report.
comfortable-
So, yeah, you do get the report, but you don't have to track down, he's responsible.
if the council approves something over 10,000, then they're gonna write a check directly to John's organization, right? Or do you want it written to who's gonna ultimately get the funds? We can do it either way, I just don't know how you wanna do it.
So, the auditors work with John, we do an audit on his finances. For us, it's better because that way, every check that's written to him, it will be audited. On the other hand, any monies that we issue to the other people, then it's gonna be us responsible. I like to put the responsibility on John.
Well, I think that's part of what.
It's just a cleaner deal.
There it is, John.
No,
The organization comes to you for that hotel, right, Rex? Everything's with you. You just tell us how much you need, if it's over $10,000, bring it to us, we approve it, or we say no.
Yeah,
They give you the money, and you take it.
Your auditors, Lee Allen Carter, broke the initiative.
I would say, I mean, these are still a part of the concern we had for a long time. These are public funds, this is tax money, this is public money. It is your,
It's very small,
your
the criteria is
responsibility.
like seven or nine that you can do, and that's it. Nothing else you can.
So if I can get this straight, So for the $10,000, we're saying, take care of it?
Right, in other words, if there are, outside of my budgeted request to you of events that I know of, if there are any event that comes to fruition that is even within my budget or exceeds my budget, over 10,000 in an individual request, I need to circle back to you to make sure you're okay with that expense.
Yes.
If there's any events, 10,000 or greater, that are not in my budgeted amount, I automatically need to come back because I don't have funds for those to begin with.
Yes.
But either way, any expense over 10,000 that isn't already in a proposed budget to you, you always have control.
And the under $10,000?
The under 10,000, if it's in my budget,
Okay.
I can do it. Then it's up to you guys if you want to let me make the requests to the city administration for funds that are under 10,000 that are not in the budget.
I thought you were saying.
Well, if they're not in, well, if they're not
If it's under
in,
10,000, I don't.
okay, we
Right,
don't-
you don't want them coming
that's-
back.
well, he doesn't
If
have
it's
to-
under 10,000.
I
That's
mean,
what
that
I
would be,
was-
that would be y'all,
That would be,
city staff. could-
that would be them right here.
I'd rather
They would-
have-
they would make
I'd
the
rather
call.
have all the ambiguity out of it.
I would say,
That's
I
what
would
I'm
say,
trying to do.
Maybe we need, okay, maybe we can take the
10,000 or
general.
more, we approve.
Right.
Events, we approve.
To be honest-
Anything under, that's under him, they figure out their budget.
and to be honest, in my last budget, I built in 15,000 that was not pre-allocated. Doesn't mean we have to use it. It just
Okay.
means it's there for these
Yeah,
occasions.
you
So
said you get it
until
back
I
if you don't
exceed
use it.
that, which I have not, then the under 10,000 beyond is a moot point. And
I mean, do we have to get detail in the contract saying anything under 10,000, he has to make sure he has the budget for it? No, they work out the budget.
That's,
We have a contract.
but what you're saying is, 10,000 and under, he's
Us.
got, 10,000 and under, he has autonomy.
Exactly.
Right. Anything over 10,000, he's gotta come to the council. Whether it's, but if it's budgeted, and you've already approved it, you don't want that
You
in
don't
there.
have to see that.
Right, so Cactus Jack, the ones that I present to you in the budget, I don't have to come back to you because we've already
Right.
agreed on
Right.
it.
Assuming you know what
These
the
guys
asks
here.
are.
That's correct.
So,
Okay.
minutes, we good?
Yeah, I think we're good. We'll bring back an amendment to the contract, but I think we have an idea of what it is. And I apologize for the confusion. It's just that we're doing this whole thing much differently than we used to. Basically, you turn over the money, and although you had ultimate oversight,
It's the right
their
way to
board
do
was
it.
dealing with everything.
'Cause we just wanted to make this a relationship where we were transparent and everybody, we wanted to make sure two things, that the taxpayers through you have control over every penny. So I better be damn sure that every penny I spend is reimbursable, because it isn't, you aren't gonna reimburse me and the chamber gets to eat it. So it keeps us, on our toes, number one, and number two, hopefully we can get more value out of what we spend.
And it keeps the excess funds, they're not being used from, in the city's accounts and growing and potentially.
So for this year's
Rather
upcoming budget, I'm likely to ask for basically what I asked for the previous year without any increases, even though you're gonna have, fortunately, a very good tax year on the hot tax. Well, that's kudos for you guys, because that means those extra dollars can go towards all those things at the Civic Center, at the Opera House, that you already know you need them
All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve 8I with city staff and city attorney working out the wording of the
I
agreement.
think we got it.
So we're gonna bring it back to you anyway, so.
So, motion made by me, seconded by Councilman Zamora. All those in favor?
Aye.
One abstain. Me. Because Cactus Jack receives money. So,
You're not, technically, you're not making.
no, I'm not.
It's not a legal conflict.
It's not
But
a
you're
legal.
gonna take it self-
Okay, well, I just didn't want it to be.
If you're putting it in your pocket, then you got it.
No, I'm not. That's not happening. 8J, consider request from the Uvalde Sewing Association for support of the 2023 FAI US Nationals and 2024 FAI World Guiding Championship with City of Uvalde Hotel Occupancy Tax.
This is the other piece of that puzzle that the other piece of unaddressed business.
Before you start your turn,
Well,
John?
it was tabled
If
last
I-
week.
John,
Or last time.
if I'm not mistaken, you said you already approved, you looked at these and you approved.
Yes, they haven't submitted the form to me, but we've already discussed it in detail, and the dollar amounts they're asking for has the full support of the chamber board and staff.
3,500.
135, well, the
So-
35 was what?
The total is 135, but I did bring copies that Mr. Cardenas thankfully supplied from their original request to the CDD board back last January. I have copies for all of y'all. I don't know if I'm allowed to give them.
Sure, you can.
Okay.
We need them, yeah, I did.
We don't need it.
But anyway, you'll see on there that that original application from last year asked for $150,000, but this is just for 135. So there you go.
I told you couldn't come back.
I know, and we're not. We're definitely not. I would like to say that I feel conflicted on whether I'm asking mom or daddy for field trip money, and if it's coming out of daddy's wallet or mama's purse. But if someone could tell me who I'm supposed to, where we're going to, that'd be great.
Well, I mean, this is a chance for us to showcase our community in a positive light with people coming from all over the United States and in the world the next year. So I make a motion to approve 8J.
Second.
Motion made by me, seconded by Councilman Balky. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Is the chamber,
We'll figure that out. You're giving us the money one way or another.
We'll see, John.
Okay, now we're gonna go to executive session. 4A, convene into executive session pursuant to Government Code, Section 551-087, deliberations regarding economic development negotiations. And that's all we have. We don't have 4B. Okay. So we'll go into executive session. Now at 6:50.
Yes, sir. That's correct. I received some letters and then later.
I got my thing approved.
Put on through the form, which I had the judge sign.
You know where the church's chicken is? Like, west, bought a house there, and I wonder if